This is our interview with Alexander from Ethereal Tomb.
He's such a nice young man.
I would do a coffee with Ethereal Tomb every Sunday.
I think we should make it a regular thing.
What a great guy and phenomenal artist. They really have honed their own sound with this last album. There are certain songs like I don't know whether to hip swish or headbang or try to do it all at once and throw my back out. But at any rate, here's our discussion, and long live Ethereal Tomb. So glad to talk to you. Oh my gosh, this album is amazing.
It's been a long time we've been trying to get this going, so I'm very
thank you.
Very excited
for having me.
Yeah.
So I think you sent your weather here today. It's kind of like gray and possible snow. We're in Baltimore.
Okay, yeah, it ain't great over here either.
No, it's not looking good. We have a big playoff football game, Baltimore. I don't know if you're into football at all. And the prices were originally the ticket trading were like $200 a ticket. They've dropped to 16 because it's so crowded.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, nobody wants to sit in
I
the
said we could get $32, but I don't want to
sit in an ice storm and pay $20 for a beer.
Yeah, me and my homies were talking yesterday. Like last night, we are just like, sports is like crazy. Like, do you know the song Viagra Boys by Viagra Boys, Sports?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that came on the TV while we were all chilling, and then my buddy's like, yo, sports people are actually like kind of fucked. and then he's just explaining like kind of a similar situation that he actually attended, and then I was like, yeah, well, I mean, I don't know, I'm not really that into it anymore. But I still love playing sports.
Yeah, it's like they didn't see the evolution of flat screens and the evolution of just making your home watching experience is now people are not going to want to go out, continue to freeze and pay all those prices to go see something live. It's just it's too comfortable, and my drink prices are way cheaper.
Yeah, we actually did a whole spoof, like a little skit on the ridiculousness of sports talk shows.
And, yeah. There's so many. Guys love to just sit around and talk about sports all day
and yell about stuff. It's so dumb.
So dumb.
I mean, we could sit around and talk about metal all day, and I'm sure one of them would say.
But that's okay though. We are correct. Yeah.
So we were guessing. Obviously, we're pretty sure your band name came from that Nocturnus album. What made you choose that, if that's true, and what impact did that have on you?
Actually, no relation whatsoever. Wow. I didn't even know the album existed.
Wow. Okay.
It's just the name is totally coincidental. I had known of Nocturnus, and I had listened to their first two albums. I know one of them is called The Key, and one of them is something else. And I had listened to it. I'd listened to both of them a couple times before. I didn't even know they had albums after that. I just started playing guitar, and then I wanted to start a band, and I was like, oh, two names in juxtaposition could be cool. And I just kind of wrote down words that I thought were cool, and I wanted it to also be kind of what do you call it, like kind of ironic. I wanted it to be kind of like an ironic stoner doom name.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just started choosing words that kind of fit into that, but they would also juxtapose each other. And Ethereal Tomb sounded cool. And I looked it up on a couple sites like Ethereal Tomb band, Ethereal Tomb this or whatever, and I couldn't find a band named Ethereal Tomb. So I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. But in that research, I also didn't see that Nocturnus had an album called Ethereal Tomb. It wasn't until about a year later that the album's recorded, the album art's done. I'm like about to upload it to streaming services, and someone's like, did you get your name from the Nocturnus album? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because I thought I vetted it. You know what I mean? I thought there was nothing named Ethereal Tomb. And it turns out there's a whole fucking album by Nocturnus, and purely coincidental.
Wow. I like the putting that together, the light and the airy with the darkness of the tomb. I like it.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like your death shirt. You've got the where it was still an upside down cross. That's very important. I had two shirts. I've worn both of them out. One upside down cross and one later where it was de-emphasized, but both
Mhm.
have turned to tissue paper at this point. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of one of my other death shirts that's falling apart.
I remember when I think it wasn't the last one, but it was like the second to last one where he started to de-emphasize the upside down cross, and my friend noticed it. I didn't notice it. I was like, wow,
Yeah,
you're not.
he evened it out. He didn't
He
make it
evened
like
it
a huge
out. Right? I was like,
cross, but
oh,
he evened
what's
it
going
out.
on there? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
mm.
Well, you guys are so prolific. This is your second album in, a little over a year. Was this like a whole different recording hibernation session? I saw that on your thing. Or was it kind of like a continuation of the first album?
Yeah, were there leftover songs from the first album, I guess?
Uh, we have actually never had any leftover songs. Any song I've ever written has turned into um a song, or like that we've thrown away riffs or saved riffs for future times, but any like song that I moved like forward to have like two or three parts is just kind of always become a song. So everything is just kind of off the like everything that's been written, because we have the split EP as well um in between these albums. And yeah, i just like I just like writing songs, so I kind of just don't stop. um and yeah, very different albums for sure.
Oh, yeah.
um um it's really just a product of me getting better at guitar, because anything that's on the second record is something I would like to have on the first record. Just there's just some things I couldn't do, because I started Ethereal Tomb 9 months after playing guitar, which was like early on in the pandemic. And so I wasn't very good. I just like the first album was kind of just like shit that I was able to do, kind of capable of doing. And then I just kept practicing, and then did the split EP, did the new record, and yeah, very different sounds. But the second record is kind of more what I envisioned for like the band a little bit. It's just I couldn't get that. I couldn't like physically put that out before. Yeah, so I think of our catalog as like a visible timeline or a tangible timeline of me just getting better at guitar, really.
Do you write songs? Do you try to write every day, or do you like have fits of creativity, or like what's your regimen like?
I try to write songs every day. Yeah. Most days it doesn't happen, but I'll sit down and play every day. I don't spend a ton of time learning songs per se. Um, I've done my time to do that, and I still do. But I usually just sit down and just start playing whatever bullshit comes to mind as soon as I sit down. Uh, but I'll force myself to sit there for hours and just like start like tapping certain places and just making random fucking noise. And once I hear a sound, then I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I just like base everything off of that one little thing. Like I was teaching the songs to someone who's filling in recently, and I'm like, every song takes up 4 frets basically.
Okay,
um
right.
and it's very simple stuff. But I build songs within the core notes of like the main riff, basically, is how it usually goes.
It's funny you say that because, when I was listening to this album, a lot of times if you listen to like Doom, like, Kanate, I enjoy it. It's like a gooey chocolate cake that I really like. But after a
Okay.
while, I'm like, man, I need some milk. But I
Okay.
didn't feel that way with this album. And I was trying to put my finger on what it was that, I didn't need that chaser. But I think you add up the variety, and I think it's the guitar that kind of has that sprightly or higher note that keeps it from really being, rah. Do you feel that way?
um could you maybe expand a little bit more
Mhm.
on what it
I
is?
was just trying to, I didn't need to like stop listening to this album and put on another something else just as a chaser, kind of between the dark gooiness of the doom feeling,
Like
you know?
compared to like a 22
Yeah.
minute Con 8 song, you know what I mean? Like where
Right,
you're just like, okay.
But, you know, I was trying to put my finger on what really kept it from being too rich and gooey. And I think it's the guitar line.
There's guitar hooks.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of hooks in it. It does. Yeah.
Mm,
So I was like,
I appreciate
so
that.
it's interesting. You feel like it must be that. I like it.
Yeah, I definitely try to write catchy songs. Like I don't write anything. I don't really write anything with anyone else in mind. I don't think that's like very true as an artist to do. But like I'll like have these riffs and I'm like, oh, like this kind of works out to be catchy, you know what I mean? I just like if I'm stoked on it, that's cool. And like usually the songs that I write and I'm stoked on, they're just kind of like turn around and catchy, and they have like a reward at the end because like instead of bringing a third chorus back, I'll just throw something cool in or something like that. And about the diversity, I guess you could call it, is kind of what I'm pulling out of what you're saying is yeah, when I laid the album out and I wrote all the riffs, basically I wrote things that I didn't have on the first record where I was like, oh, we didn't have this kind of drum part. Oh, we didn't have this kind of tremolo riff, or like, so I was like going very, very, very out of my way to do things that the Ethereal Tomb has never had on a song before. Um, and so being mindful of that, I think it definitely contributes to like what you're talking about.
It's a really, really good mix. It sounds like in the writing process, you're a little bit more of a dictatorship than a democracy as a band. Is that true?
Yeah, I write everything. And that lineup of Ethereal Team no longer exists, but at the time, um yeah, they just let me do my thing, and I thanked them for it. And they just let me take the reins, and they just played the stuff. Really, we never moved forward, but the thing is, like, sure, I wrote everything, but we never moved forward on something we weren't stoked on, like as a group. Like I was never like shut the fuck up and just play the you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we were all collectively always like, this is cool. This is a good riff, this is a good something or other. And then we'd move on.
So once in a while on Metal Archives, it's confusing. And your drumming situation, if you look at your profile on there, it suggests that Aiden left this year and that Simon is just your live drummer. So are you guys looking for a drummer, or are they just wrong, or what?
Okay, yeah. So actually, me and Aiden had talked about this a couple weeks ago, funny enough, because I think he had gone to look at Metal Archives just to see what was on there, and then he actually brought this up to me. So yeah, the original drummer left, and then I had Simon as a live drummer for a while, and then I got my buddy Caleb, who drums in my other band, To the Bone, which is a hardcore band, and asked him to help me out. He filled in earlier in the summer when we played a fest in Philly, and he filled in for that. So I asked him again. I was like, "Hey man, like we had this Cancer Bats tour coming up. Would you be down?" And I know he's in school and he can kind of just like fuck off. Like so,
Right.
it was kind of last minute. I was like, "Would you be able to do this tour?" And so yeah, he stepped in, and then the tour was super fun. And I'm trying to tour a bunch in 2024, so I was like, "Hey man, what would you think about actually joining as like a member?" And so like yeah, Caleb's like the official drummer now. So I've got my drum situation figured out, but now it's my bass situation that I'm figuring out. Because Aiden stepped away from the band a couple weeks ago, and so I have my friend Colton playing bass for a couple months, and then I have Jake playing bass for I don't know how long, and then whenever Jake's done, Colton will step back in.
Okay. It gets
So I'm
complicated.
very,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm very thankful to have friends who are so talented
Yeah.
and so willing to help me out with everything
Gotcha.
That's
throughout the
awesome.
whole process of being Ethereal too, not just recently.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it without them.
That's great. So I really thought listening to the back catalog that your sound really became distinctive in the recording of Death of an Indian. Was that like a palpable click when you recorded that yeah, this is where I want the sound to go?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was like the first song where I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And like Culture Decline and Death of the Indian were like, yeah, that was like me finding my footing, definitely. Yeah, for where I wanted everything to go. And you can kind of tell if you listen to the album that came after it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love so many of the tracks on this album. When Rivers Run Dry, the guitar almost has like a Doppler effect to it. It's like, how did you make that happen? Is it a pedal or it almost like, like when an ice cream truck is driving away from you and the sound is getting like almost distorted and eerie? That's kind of what it reminded me of.
Are you talking about the chorus riff?
Yeah.
Where it goes like down, 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 down. Yeah, so it's just 2-octave power. I don't know if you play guitar, but it's two octave power chords at once. I'm sure there's an actual name for that type of chord shape. But I'm just plucking them at different times. So I hold the chord the whole time. So I hold say the chorus starts on the 5, so I hold 2 5s and then I hold 2 7s on the high register, and I go wow down, and it.
Oh wow.
But it holds the chord. So it holds the chord and just like kind of has like a trippy sound to it. But I stole that chord shape from Nile, actually.
Okay.
Nile, that's why a lot of Nile's like progressions sound so thick. Like, yeah, they're tuned so low, but I'm like, damn, these sound like fucked. Like, so I went to check it out, and they're actually doing that chord shape, and I tried it on my tuning and my tone, and I was like, wow, this sounds awesome. And so now it was all over When the River's Dry, and I love Nile, so I took it out of their catalog.
Yeah, I remember when they really started to when their star started to rise. I just remember like playing their albums for everybody. I was like, it's Pharaohs and Egypt and Death Metal.
Yeah,
Like, who thought of
yeah.
that? That's so great. Like everybody's done it now, but that was, then it was just mind blowing, yeah.
I wanted to ask you about victim mentality. I love the lyric, fuck your reality and your victim mentality. In your opinion, who is the biggest offender of perpetuating that victim mentality persona?
I said this in an interview not that long ago. And I was pretty happy with how I said it. It was to put it bluntly, it's like white people critiquing BIPOC issues without like taking the time to understand or empathize, or sorry, to even empathize the struggles that BIPOC people face. And if we're talking about this record, it's kind of more directed towards like indigenous people. And yeah, so it's like it's not taking the time to understand it or even empathize with it, and to not understand it is also not understanding how said people are perpetuating it, to kind of put it loosely, I guess. And so yeah, I experience that quite often doing what I do, and putting myself out there as much as I do and saying what I do. I get a couple hate messages a week sometimes.
Oh my God.
And some crazy ass comments, and You know, like we had someone in the music scene recently, like, um, get booted out of it essentially for being super fucked up, but they were also very fucked up to me, and like had come to me saying that like Ethereal Tomb is racist towards white people and all this shit, and I'm like, you're fucked, man. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, ain't no one else got a problem, just you, because you're
Yeah.
fucked.
Yeah, we talked to John from Black Braid a while ago, and then right after that they had gone, was it Finland they were at, or Denmark?
Somewhere in Scandinavia.
They did
Yeah.
a tour.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
You
did you
remember
hear
this controversy?
it was
Yeah.
yeah, I do.
they were asleep, you know, and apparently you're not allowed to sleep
Can't
over
sleep at the
there.
bar over there. Yeah.
It was like, and all that stuff, and we're like, no, we stand with John. That's ridiculous. You know, it definitely, I guess maybe it's the culture there. They just don't get it, or it was a horrible situation. I felt bad for him when all that happened, but thank God he just shook it off.
Yeah, I had someone send me the specifics of that situation when it happened, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Like,
I've
Kind of
heard
seems
that though. I've heard that.
profiler-ish.
I have friends that are in bands that when they got to Scandinavia, I think it was Finland, like the cops they'll pull you over and be like, "Do you have a place to stay tonight?" You know, like they kind of manhandle
yeah, that's not
people with
surprising.
long hair that they don't recognize, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
So getting back to you guys, in Face the Facts, where did the spoken monologue at the beginning come from?
Yeah.
Oh, absolute legend. His name is John Trudell. So it's John, Trudell, and I'm spelling that out for anyone. I encourage anyone to go check this dude out and listen to his spoken word and his speeches and everything like that. Super big inspiration for me. And he's passed now, but he was a he doesn't necessarily like labels or anything, but to make it simple in this conversation, poet, activist, songwriter. He used to be the president of the American Indian movement in the 70s, during Wounded Knee, like the occupation of Wounded Knee. And very, very smart fucking dude. And I'm very inspired by him. And so Face the Facts and what's it called? Pure Radiant Energy. Those interludes are both different spoken word pieces from John Trudell.
And who was the woman in Save the Man? It almost sounded like it could have been from a documentary.
It was actually. There's a documentary called 270 Years of Resistance, which is have you ever heard of Oka Crisis?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's about it's based around the Oka Crisis, but it gives you like a very big back catalog of the history of the area within it. And there's an interview. So their press were staying with the Mohawks during the land defending of the area, and they interviewed this one woman. I forget her name, but it was never a full name, and it might even be a nickname. It was like Buffy or something like that.
Okay.
And they're interviewing her, and I actually have the interview screen recorded to my phone so that I could watch it just when I feel like it, because it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And she's just basically saying like, I never used to be angry, or I was a pacifist, and not anymore. And if I go to prison, I'm going to walk through those doors with my head held high. And when I get out, I'm going to teach my children how to be a warrior. I'm going to teach my grandchildren how to be a warrior. Like, I'm fucking done with this shit. And it gives me goosebumps every time I watch it. It's so sick.
I'm always impressed by your generation. I mean, when I was your age, it was get hammered, find pussy. I mean, you guys are just so much more evolved than we were. You did a Bandcamp fundraiser for the Indian Residential School Survivor Society. Can you
Yes,
talk about
yes.
that a little bit and like why you chose that fundraiser?
Yeah, because we weren't familiar with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I've done fundraisers for multiple different direct action groups and organizations. And I wanted to do one for Toronto Indigenous Harm Reduction, but I was like, oh, but I'm already planning a show for that. So I was like, I'll pick something else for the shirt thing. And it was in conjunction with in Canada, we have like a day, like a national recognized day called Truth and Reconciliation Day. I don't really back that concept, but it's being pushed by the Canadian government very hard over here. So I did it in conjunction with that, and I was like, buy it from Monday to Sunday. And I never put merch up online. I fucking hate shipping merch. It's insufferable. Not that I don't want fans to have merch, but I already do everything for the band, and going to the post office is fucking, it just kills me. But I was like, fuck it. First time having merch up online in like 9 or 10 months. And so I knew first of all, knew it would sell because I never have any accessible.
Yeah.
And it was in conjunction with Truth and Reconciliation Day. So I was like, I have the capability to do this thing and make some money because I know this shit's going to sell. So I just chose Indian Residential School Survivor Society for the fundraiser. And, you talk to any Native person in Canada, and they're going to have some kind of connection to residential schools. I'm no different. So it made sense.
Yeah, it's something I don't think we understand as much in the United States. You don't think of it in Canada, but it's there. And I think more people should probably be aware of what's going on than that are.
Yeah, in the States, people call it boarding school. And I think it's very I'm not as familiar with boarding schools, but to my understanding, it's a very similar concept to residential schools of like forced removal of Indigenous children from their homes. But yeah, I've heard different things that were like a little more like relaxed about like boarding schools, like just like certain rules weren't as strict or something like that. I can't necessarily remember, so I'm not going to throw anything out there because I don't want to be wrong or give anyone the wrong idea.
Right.
But based on a very similar idea of just removing Native children from their families to strip them of their culture and their language and hair, and basically assimilate them into a system to they would never be accepted by anyways. And
Wow.
that's why the song is called Save the Man, because there's a saying about boarding in residential schools that that's what that song title's from, is talking about just pulling that from the saying about residential schools.
Well, we play a game on the show, test
Sure.
your metal knowledge. Okay. So it's called Blaspheming Monikers. I have 5 band names from the Metal Archives in front of me. One is made up. So I want you to guess which one of these is not a real band. Okay. First, Hell Desecrator. Second, Hell's Embrace. Third, Hell Camino. Fourth, Hydraulic Hell. And fifth, Hell's Pigeons.
The second last option I'm going to say is not a band.
Hydraulic Hell?
Yeah.
Nope, they're an Italian black metal band. They have one LP and one EP. Yeah. It's not hydraulic, it's hydraulic. I don't know if that's even a word, but yeah, that one's real.
Okay.
So that That leaves Hell Desecrator, Hell's Embrace, Hell Camino, and Hell's Pigeons.
Hell Camino is actually such a sick name that I'm just hoping that it's a band. And Hell's Pigeons is also very sick. So I want that to be a band, but it sounds like something that would be made up too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Hell's Pigeons, even though it feels like bait, and I want it to be a band. But I'm gonna choose that one next.
All right, now that one's real. They're German, and
Fuck yes.
they only have 2 demos. But I don't usually look at this, but it actually says themes: pigeons, alcohol, and breakfast. What the heck?
Hell yeah, that's hard as hell.
I agree that Hell Camino is a great name. Now the one I made up was Hell's Embrace. Actually, there's no band called that. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Hell Camino, of course, are stoner metal, which is like perfect. Right?
Yeah,
They're from,
sounds
like
yeah,
Arkansas
sounds
or
about
something.
right.
It's a great name. Yeah. So
Yeah,
anyway,
that name is very sick. It's the sickest
that's
band
like
I've heard in a
that's like
while.
3 o'clock in the morning. You go, wait a minute, Hell Camino. And then the
Yeah.
other guys in the band are like, there's got to already be a band called that. And then there's not. And you're like, copyrighted.
Or you're on 666 Mr. Doom at 3 a.m, and that's what comes on in your rotation, and you're like,
Right,
oh,
right.
fuck,
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Yeah.
So your tour with Cancer Bats that was earlier, right at the end of the year, how did that go? And did you have any? You played in a lot of places you had never played before. Did you
Mhm.
have any best and worst memories from those tours?
Worst memory was probably Aiden having to go to the emergency after our Windsor date.
Oh my.
Because I woke up to him fucking. So I fucking personally hate getting hotels. Not even because of the price, but I just like sleeping on people's floors and couches. But these two nights on the tour, we had a hotel room, and one of them was the night after Windsor, and so we're all in the same room, and me and Caleb are in one bed, and Aiden's in the other, and I just hear him fucking moaning, and I'm like, I wake up and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Like, I'm like, you okay, man? And he's fucking like just moaning, griping in bed, and I'm just like, he's like, fuck, dude, I'm kind of fucked, like, and I'm like, what's up? Do you need my help? Like, I get up and I'm like, okay, what's up? And so there happened to be like an emergency kind of walk-in. It wasn't like an emergency hospital, but it was like kind of an emergency walk-in open across the street. So I walked him across the street, sat in the waiting room, and he told his symptoms to the nurse, and the one dude sitting down was like blue collar as fuck, like and he's like, it's a kidney stone, brother, like and
God.
and then we're like, oh fuck, like neither one of us have ever had one, but we're like, oh fuck, and then the dude just kept leaning into it. He's like yep, I have about 2 a year, my last one was fucking this big, and it sucks, brother, it's gonna fucking suck, like it's actual hell, like, you know what I mean, like,
Oh wow.
just fucking like nightmare fueling Aiden in the waiting room. And I'm just like, I want to just be like, can you shut the fuck up?
Yeah. You're not helping. You're not helping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then eventually they're like, yeah, actually you should just go to the hospital. So I dropped him off at the hospital, and we didn't know if we were gonna make the next date that night. Thankfully it was only like 2.5 hours away, but we didn't know what was going on, how bad it was, or anything. So me and Caleb just fucking sat in the car. And then it was warm enough still that we went to a skate park, chilled, and came back and picked him up, and we made it to the next date. But like, yeah, it was a very like scary, like kind
Yeah,
of
I can imagine.
experience. And we're like, fuck, do we go play it as a 2-piece, like with Aiden's permission, because we don't want to leave him behind if he needs our help. But if he's like forced to stay and chill at the hospital, then maybe we'll go play it as a 2-piece. But if he's fucked, we'll miss the date, like, you know what I mean, like. But yeah, that kind of sucked. And the best memory was honestly, just the banter between the bands. We all had so much fun just shooting the shit all the time. And me and Caleb were like, we had this one gimmick of uh just like using as much slang as we possibly could to fuck with people. And then Jay from Cancer Bats like started getting in on it. And then like everyone by the end of the weekend was kind of just throwing like certain like slang words out in conversation. So it was fun to just shoot the shit with everyone all the time.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I did a thing on the show about yeah, the language that young people can create from jokes about memes that are so obscure, and the memes are
Mhm.
from video games that you don't even know anyway. So yeah, you can do a whole other language that way, you know. So
Oh,
people my
totally.
age will be like, what, you know.
I noticed a lot of hashtag skateboard stuff on your post, and you were just talking about a skate park. I know when my son was younger, he was really into skating, but they almost treated skaters like criminals. Like,
Still do, yeah.
I'm just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't understand it. It's like no loitering and no skateboarding. I'm like, who's loitering? I can't tell you the amount of times I had to go get him from the police for skateboarding.
My
And I
mom
get
would
mad.
my mom would say the same thing. Yeah.
You're not going to see a no badminton playing sign in 7-Eleven's parking lot.
Yeah, yeah. I love skateboarding, and up until recently, every single member or even fill-in of Ethereal Team was a skater.
Yeah.
And yeah, we bring our boards on tour, we bring our boards to shows, even if it's just for a couple of tricks outside a show, or if there's
That's
like a
cool.
cool park in town or something. Like this summer, we had to tour in my fucking Ford hatchback because I lost the rental for our tour van on the day of. Just completely out of my control. And so I picked him up in my hatchback, and I was like, all right, let's go. Like,
Wow.
we got to
That
make it
sounds like a
work.
very small vehicle. Yeah.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
And we had to make it work, and got like a big like waterproof bag on top to put all the merch in and shit. And made it work. It wasn't the greatest, but it worked. But at the end of it, where there was like barely any room, and they're like, fuck, do we bring our boards? I'm like, there's no way I'm not bringing my fucking board. Like, I will sit with it between my legs in the driver's seat
Yeah.
every day if I have to. Like, we're not
Absolutely.
bringing our boards.
Yep.
And so yeah, skateboarding is a very integral part of Ethereal too.
Who has the sickest skills in the band?
Definitely me. I've been skateboarding a really, really long time. And for certain members that have come and gone, they're a musician first, I'm a skater first. That's just what I'm like, have always found the most drive for, and love for is skateboarding, and that's not really going to change. So I've dedicated. So I started playing music going on 4 years ago, but I've been skateboarding for like going on like 19.
Wow.
What was
Yeah.
your worst injury? What's your worst injury?
Oh fuck. Snowboarding, I fucked myself up way more. Broke broke a couple bones doing that. But skateboarding, you know what? I broke my ankle at the same time that I had a broken hand.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
so I went skating with the crutch on and everything. Sorry, with the cast on, and I went out and actually just straight snapped my ankle at the same time that I had that broken hand, and I started having to crutch around on like the edge of my cast. So I looked pretty fucked up. Yeah.
Like you've been to war.
Yeah. Yeah. I looked pretty rough. Yeah.
Yeah, I always knew when I got that call from my son with the mom with the tremor at the end. I'm like, we're going to the emergency room.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody.
Yeah. Very parental experience right there.
So, I could see you guys totally like doing Europe and stuff like the cancer bats and stuff have done. And I know you said you were interested in more touring. Do you have anything planned yet, or can we get you down here to the States, or what? And your hatchback, you can sleep on our sofa. It's fine.
Yeah, We're applying for our visas on Monday or Tuesday to get basically permission to play in the States. And so that'll be good for a year. So I'm hoping to hit the States like a bunch. And we have a Canada US tour planned for mid-April. And so we're going to go across Canada again, play with all our friends there, and then head down through Seattle. And then just like I routed our way back to Toronto, basically. So we're going to do that for, it totals out to like a month and a day or something like that.
What was some of your favorite albums from 2023? And like, I guess your Spotify Wrapped, like what was some of your
My top
original?
artist for my Wrapped was Alan Jackson, actually.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
But my favorite albums from 2023, one of my favorite ones was Astral Tomb's new album, Total Spiritual Death. There's an EP called Comes With a Price by Reality Denied, and that was my favorite like hardcore release of the year. Like it was a local band, but like it's so fucking good. Like it's just best thing to come out of hardcore this year in my opinion. And fuck, what's one more? Inside You, indigenous hardcore band from Oklahoma City, came out with Dead in the Streets EP. It was very sick. And we're playing with them. We're playing 3 dates with them when we play the States this spring, so I'm hyped.
We hope to catch you at some point.
Yeah.
Where are you from again?
Baltimore.
We're in Baltimore.
Baltimore.
So we're kind of midway down the East Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have Baltimore booked in because I didn't prioritize too many East Coast dates on the tour because we live East Coast and we'll just have the visas. So if we want to take a week off, we can go pretty easily play 6 dates on the East Coast. So we'll make it back down to that area at some point. But on the tour, I was prioritizing the shit that's really far away, and then we play a couple East Coast dates. And
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we talk to some of the older bands that have come and gone, especially in Scandinavia, they're scared to death of US visas. They'll just be like, oh my God, the
They're
visa
hell.
process. So they must just have stories of people getting stranded or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's actual hell.
Yeah.
To do this visa shit. Next time I'm gonna pay someone to do it for me. Like I can't
Outsource.
I can't do this shit. It's so stressful to figure out. And I've been messaging people like, what does it mean when they say this? And like, you know what I mean? Like just like then you gotta pay so much money, and I'm paying for everyone's visa by myself, and it's fucking expensive. So I've been very stressed recently. But I want to do it really bad, so I'm trying to make it work.
Yeah. Who was it that had the visa problem?
Infected Rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was horrible.
He lost like 5 tour dates. Yeah, because of
it was 5, but the first 5 days of their tours because their drummer, I think, couldn't get over here. They only had like it was like you. They only had they had the bassist and
somebody
the singer,
was left behind. Yeah.
But finally they got him over here. I was like, God.
So my Instagram feed was her apologizing every day for like 5 days.
Damn, yeah, that I hate that for them. I've seen it happen many times to many bands, and it really sucks.
It sucks. Yeah.
Oh, I know one thing I wanted to ask you. On your TikTok, you have like video of the final scream. Was that actually the recording there?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that scream, I believe, is it's either the first or second scream in the Sufferance of Mourning. I think we recorded them out of place. Like I think we recorded the second scream first and the first scream second. But yeah, it's one of those ones. That one's actually on the record. Yeah. And that scream like is like an out of body. Every time we play that song, those 2 screams is like an out of body experience. Like something just happens to my like chest and back when I do those screams that I feel like I'm gonna fucking pass out every single time.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And so I had done a bunch of them just trying to fucking like, because I saved them for last, that I wanted to just like fuck technique and everything. I just like tried to just scream really, really, really hard. And if it tore my shit up, then that was okay because it was the last thing that we are doing.
Right.
Um, and you see me turn around the video, I'm like, fuck this shit. I can't, that has to be it.
You could see it on your face, like, I need to walk this off for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I think I turned around and I was like, that has to be the one. Like, I can't fucking do this.
Yeah. You guys have done well with your TikTok. I like it. It's an interesting platform. Their analytics are great, I think. And but it sort of contradicts itself because they're trying to get longer videos now. I don't know if you've had this where you can see where they're kind of trying, they have like testimonials. My longer than 1 minute videos are doing great. But then you look at the stats and it'll say most people stop watching after 2 seconds. So it's like, all right, come on.
I've been trying that out. Yeah, actually. Because I learned how to do, I don't talk about the TikTok very often. Because it's not necessarily something that I dislike doing. I have fun doing what I do on it, but yeah, it's just metal, and metal's like judgmental as fuck, so it's hardcore for in terms of that. And I don't feel necessarily bad about anything that I do on the platform, and I have fun doing it. So, but I also don't feel the need to just go out talking about it either. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I definitely learned how to do the short videos really well.
Yeah.
And like the account did really well. And then I noticed that I don't pay attention to analytics. I mostly just pay attention to how many views a video gets. And I'm like, oh, like this is kind of like slowing down. I was like, what's up? So I just kind of stepped back and started making videos for a while. And I was like, just kind of observing. And I noticed a lot of longer videos. And I'm like, what the fuck do I do for a longer video, bro? Like, I don't fucking know. Like, but yeah, it's been kind of a learning curve to relearn. It's kind of like relearning the platform a little bit because it's shifted quite a bit.
Yeah. No, you're right about the judgmental metal community. We interviewed a young lady last week. She said she got a lot of shit for her album cover because it's the same artwork that Emperor used. But the painting is like from like the 13th century or something. So, and she's like, oh yeah, I got so much shit for using Emperor's. It really is not Emperor's painting. It goes way beyond
Doesn't
that.
belong to them.
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of blew me away a little bit. I was like, wow,
Yeah, fuck. I mean, someone's always gonna have some shit to say.
Yeah, exactly. Invent a
like
reason.
I said earlier, I'm no stranger to getting some crazy ass shit sent to me.
Well, sometimes that's a good way of knowing that, you know, if they're no longer being nice, that you're almost doing something right.
Yeah, I kind of like the negativity because that means it's not friends and family anymore, you know.
Yeah,
You're out there.
You know, I was listening to someone the other day where it's like, punk shouldn't be accessible. Like, it's like, and they're like, I don't want to give you a band that you would like. Go listen to Crass. Like, go listen to Crass and come back. And if you don't like it, fuck off. And it's
that sort of reminds me of like
it's a funny take, yeah.
That sort of reminds me of my parents growing up. Like if my mom would say, I like that shirt, I'd be like, all right, what's wrong with it? I'm not wearing this anymore.
Yeah. My grandpa, I called him the other day, FaceTimed him, and I was wearing my Nile Catacombs of Neferka shirt, and he was like, you spilled some paint on your shirt. Like he just always says some bullshit about the band shirts that I wear ever since I was a kid.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, people aren't offended by shirts like they were when I was young. Like you can wear any horrible, Tomb of the Mutilated, people don't even notice anymore. It's kind of sad,
Yeah, I definitely wasn't. I was told to not wear certain shirts to school when I was younger.
Yeah, I miss those days. Yeah,
Yeah, we can wear the worst Cannibal Corpse shirt out, but he wore a Pornhub shirt out. We got all kind of reaction from that. I was like, really?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very choice shirt to wear for sure.
And then the response to that is 17 takes and all I get's a lousy t-shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Well, this was great, don't you think?
Yeah, I love coffee with Ethereal Tomb. We should do this every week.
Yeah, absolutely.
We covered everything from TikTok to
Skateboarding.
to skateboarding to native Canadians. Yeah. Very interesting.
Well,
Yeah,
keep
those are-
doing what you're doing because you're doing great.
Yeah, we're excited about the tour. If you come anywhere near us, we'll
be there.
Yes.
We're the East Coast states. I forget exactly where Baltimore is, but I know that we're doing Washington D.C., Philly, New York, Boston. Those are our like major East Coast states.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
right
I don't
between
know-
Philly.
I don't know
We're
if that's
between
possible.
Philly and DC. So yeah, either one of those works for us too. Yeah.
Okay.
This is the Snaggletooth Extreme Metal Podcast.